I'll just kind of kick it off. But do we have some new faces?
Yes, we do. We do have a couple.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so should we do like
maybe a quick introduction around, just so everybody meets everybody, and we don't single out the new people.
There we go. Okay, I'm Yvonne Carney, WSSC Water in Maryland.
I'll be calling people just because otherwise it'll be awkward.
Or we can have
Eric. Yeah, Eric.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
Go. What would you suggest, Yvonne?
Oh, I was in another meeting where they like you popcorned it to the next person.
Right.
So you pick the person who goes next. So I could do that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna popcorn it to Steve Wood.
You said you weren't singling out the new people. No, just kidding.
Oh, no.
No, just kidding. No, I'm Steve Wood. I'm on the workforce development and training team in Charlotte Water, and I'm essentially a senior analyst, and I work on business process improvement and technology implementation internally, looking at human resources, succession planning, those types of workforce needs. And Sherry Jones co-opted me and got me to sign up for this. So we talked about it yesterday afternoon. Rapid fire. Happy to be with you all.
Cool.
So you have to popcorn it to somebody else.
Now
Steve.
I'm gonna popcorn it. I'll popcorn it to Pat.
My name is Pat Boyle. I'm with the Baltimore City Department of Public Works. I'm a pollution control program administrator. And I joined because my bureau head, Joseph Kabatti, has a great interest in this program. So here I am. And the next person on I'd say, Jenny.
Hi, I'm Jenny Chaddock. I'm a process analyst at Tacoma Water, and I will popcorn to Eric.
Good afternoon. I'm Eric Griffin with the Great Lakes Water Authority. Very interested in this data analytics, and I'm also leading the energy effort. So I will popcorn it to Mike.
Hey, good. Thanks, Eric. Mike Barnett, and I'm providing the business modeling and decision modeling support for the WISE program.
And you will.
Oh, I got to popcorn it to somebody. I'll popcorn it to Tig.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ting Lu from Clean Water Services, Portland, Oregon. So I'm business practice leader for digital solutions. I'll popcorn to Mike.
Sweeney.
Hi there, I'm Mike Sweeney from Toho Water Authority in beautiful Kissimmee, Florida, and I'm Director of Innovation and a bunch of other things, and I will popcorn it to Dan Ott, who just joined us.
Hello. I guess we're doing introductions, right? I just got on the call. So yeah, my name's Dan Ott. I'm with KC Water in Kansas City, Missouri, and saw the agenda and thought, man, I got to jump in on this call. And I work with Scott Parker, so maybe I'll popcorn it over to him if he hasn't introduced himself yet.
Absolutely. Hey, Scott Parker, KC Water. I'm the asset manager here. I'm also over our data analytics and business intelligence group. And so this is right down my alley. So, yep, I'm going to popcorn it to Cello.
Thank you. I'm Cello Vitasich. I'm the part of the project team, and I am here to support all the utilities, and I'll popcorn it to Udam Baines. Did I say
sure? You know what? That's actually pretty close. So you get full marks. Yeah, my name is Udam Baines. I'm calling in there from Metro Vancouver Regional District, Vancouver, Canada. This is actually, I think, one of our first calls here. For us, we manage all of the enterprise applications at Metro Vancouver. So we're a new group that's managing the digital strategy and enterprise architecture, new as of about a year ago. So one of our goals is just to make sure we're aligning and learning from all the other organizations that are in a similar place. So I look forward to learning from all of you.
And I think Scott Haskins is the only one left that hasn't been.
Oh, thanks, Cello. Scott Haskins on the project team supporting you all.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks. Welcome everyone, especially our newest members and attendees. I really appreciate you being here, and I think it goes both ways as well. That we'll be learning from you as well. So I'm excited to have you all here. Maybe I'll just I put together kind of a proposed agenda for today, and as we go through, want to get your feedback on how to proceed. We have had a couple of meetings where Cello has been walking through for us a very comprehensive assessment tool that was developed for the WRF 5039 Smart Utilities and Intelligent Water Assessment. In our discussion in our last meeting, we were trying to figure out how to best engage ourselves in this assessment in a way that's helpful for our ability to understand how it might work, as well as to provide hopefully some kind of helpful feedback to ensure that this assessment is accessible and ultimately utilized within our organizations. So some suggestions towards the end of the meeting were, maybe to take a simple process or maybe a more complicated process and sort of take one piece of the assessment at a time and attempt to do it and see kind of what we learned from that experience. So that was some of the conversation and chat from our last time. And so Cello has gone through the UAAM extensive library of processes and pulled out some that we may want to use today. The actual suggestion, and I'm forgetting who made it now in the meeting, was that we use the making of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's still an option on the table. But also Cello pulled a variety of processes from on the more potentially complex scale, the CIP process. Many of you probably, or your utilities, participated in that one, and then also Cello shared some processes that he's done at the utility he worked for on revenue flow meters. So that's the concept behind today's meeting, which is a little different format than what we have done previously. We want to kind of try this out and get thoughts from you guys if it works. So before we move forward, how does that plan sound to people in terms of an approach for today? I guess you can do thumbs up. I don't know if there's a thumb down, but okay, I see some thumbs up. So very good. Cool. Well then, Cello, would you mind kind of walking us through some of the processes that you found for us so we could
Yes. On the UAM project, we had literally hundreds of processes that people modeled. So I just pulled some out because it doesn't, just as an example. One of them is CIP, and I hope I cannot make this any larger because it's a window thing. And so these are different stages of the CIP process. They're in the same folder, as you can see for today's meeting, in this folder. And so I also posted, and I can look at, one of them just to show you what they look like. So when they all connect, let me just, when they all connect, this is, they go from left to right. So this one isn't defining the business needs, and then the other ones kind of follow to the right. Just a second. Then it's stage one is approval of the CIP. again, and we have, it goes all the way to stage 7. We could take any of these. Another possibility, if we want to have something that's really, specific for the water sector, I also posted a UAIM case study. Give me just a second. From DC Water that was on business case evaluation, which is part of CIP planning, that has not only a diagram, but also has a narrative and description, and has the, has the diagram, how they look at the as-is evaluation, how they, what their business case evaluation process is. Because if you see this one, if you see my cursor, this is conduct business case evaluation. And then when they blow it up, they see this. And then when you look at this one, is develop opportunity and needs statement and identify stakeholders. When you blow up that one, you get this one. So there's, even within this one example, there are a lot of things that could be used for our exercise as an example process. So these are sort of water related. What I did in addition to that is, as a part of the work for on an asset management pilot project that was focused on revenue meters in the organization that I still work for another few weeks. I'll be retiring. We developed these descriptions of all the different things that are connected to our revenue billing meters, from how to calibrate it. This is a business process model of how you calibrate one of these meters. Swim lanes show who's involved. These are activities. These are people. These are the systems, different systems that are being used. So, some of these things can get complicated, and we have 40 of these. So we have a lot of stuff to choose from. Or the idea is that we would look at this and apply this second step to see, okay, who's actually involved in this process, and is it individuals, staff collaborating with a team, or so forth. So these are the possible candidates. I would propose that we maybe don't want to take something this complex, but I'll go back to Yvonne in a second. So these are the different options that are here. And the other one was proposed originally by Pat, that it was kind of a generic thing about, was it preparing a peanut butter sandwich, Pat?
A factory preparing thousands of peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh, okay. So,
but they did them all manually, and they wanted to automate.
Okay. So that's great. So, Yvonne, back to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cello, for all of these resources. So, so now it's really like for us as a team, just welcome folks to raise their hand, chime in, thoughts about how to proceed. Is it helpful to use a kind of real process? I guess that's helpful, or fictitious? I guess that's our first question. Anyone wants to chime in on that? Ting.
Yeah, that's good, Yvonne. I think that also one question I have for the team is do we want to just use one or a field that we're focusing on two as well? And then I'll talk about my personal opinion on that. Is I do have a process project that I like to implement within Clean Water Services that I want to just share and see whether this is relevant to this group. So where I'm coming from is I'm leading the IT department we often get multiple requests from multiple departments about the IT project request. So there's not really a clear governance on how to prioritize and sequence the project, and what's the frequency for that, and how do we do project technology evaluation. It's a pretty ad hoc right now. So one of the things I want to do for this year is to develop a process and getting the stakeholders buy-in, and also form a kind of like a technology council to develop a process for IT governance there. So that's something I want to just bring out there and see if that's something that might be good for the group here.
It's very interesting. That's very interesting.
Scott, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I think that last recommendation or suggestion is a really good one. We sort of have the same circumstance. We actually do elements of this. We already do a business case for any new IT purchases that we do in the department. But as far as prioritization or whatnot, it's more of a first come, first serve. We get bombarded with these literally every 5 minutes. It seems like that's all that it's going on in utilities anymore, is the development of tools that are digital, seems like. So I would suggest that would be a good one that I think we might benefit from. So definitely interested in that. And there's already, like I said, there's already maybe even some artifacts. I've got some artifacts I could share that could maybe help with that process. I know that's what we did on the CIP planning process as well. So yep, definitely interested in that one.
So let's see. So Ting, were you is this something that you've like started to map out, or it's like this is an area where I need to come up with a process that doesn't exist?
Yeah, we don't have a process currently, so I like to map out and taking what the process developed here and the component and to do that process. And ideally, we will have multiple people also interesting, so I don't want to do it just for us. And then, we can have a group conversation, and maybe this could be a process for a reference for other utilities too, once we complete the project.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that's something I want to work on, and I'm wondering as well. I'm hearing Udham. Is it Udham? Am I pronouncing it somewhat right?
It's Udham.
Udham.
Yeah.
Just as you mentioned, sort of digital strategy and enterprise architecture, I was like, I wonder if they have thought that through there as well. So cool.
What's interesting for us is similar to what the previous speaker mentioned there. Like for us, a lot of it used to be a bit more ad hoc. So the large projects would come in. We do have an annual, what we call a dependency cycle, which the corporation brings forward requests of all different departments, including IT. So we end up with this large injection of work into our work. But a lot of our challenge is along the lines of what does that along with overall strategy. I think somebody's got a feedback on their mic there.
I'm sorry, I'm maybe the only one. There was a lot of feedback when you were speaking. It seems like somebody's typing with their
Yeah, it seems like somebody's typing as well.
I'm sorry. I got about halfway through what you said there. If you wouldn't mind just sort of summarizing what you said there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So what I was saying is part of one of the challenges we face is also just managing the overall pipeline and the work plans. So what we have is an annual process, which we call the dependency process, which departments within the organization will bring forward what their needs are of IT and I'll say other departments, but it ends up largely being, the lion's share of the work is typically coming towards IT because people are looking to improve, business processes and having technology solutions to help them along. Where we've now gotten to is we do have that intake and injection of work into the IT work plan, and we have a process by which we then rank those and we work on we've established what we call departmental committees, which basically we then will take those and work with them and say, well, you help us decide which ones are the highest priority for you. And then that's how we divvy them out. and it's not perfect. I will say that, because I think what happens is we start the year off and everybody's like, okay, this makes sense. But as we all probably can attest to, the way the business works is, priorities change, and there's always new higher priority things that come along. So our biggest challenge right now is helping manage that, and so we're developing a framework as part of our IT PMO, which is effectively that, which is how do we manage the demand, how do we manage the resource issues, how do we manage the demand on really just any resource. But really our biggest challenge is the human resources, because the bench is only so deep, and typically for us, we're managing all of the projects with the people on the bench. We do go out to get consulting resources, but that's not ideal for us. We like to be able to manage as much as we can in-house. So for us, we do have a process, and we can definitely share what it is. But I will say we do have to practice the Kaizen principle here, and continue to improve it, because as we think we have something figured out, there's always another twist coming up the road. So
if I could throw in one more thing on that, you sparked one other thought that I was going to mention before that I'd forgotten. So thanks for sparking that thought. A couple things too here. I think one of the things that I'm also over IT, so I think I as Ting and yourself there, you guys sort of I think have a similar role. One of the big issues that I know we've encountered is sort of we have too many systems working not very well, and not integrating with one another. Same exact thing with reports. We have thousands of reports, and we always describe it as we have tons of PIs and no KPIs, or very few KPIs, right? We have a lot of performance widget counts that are easy to build out of an SSRS report, and what we have also is what I call dashboard frenzy. Everybody believes that a dashboard of some sort is going to solve all the problems that are in the business. And the power of a lot of the aggregator tools that are out there right now is that they can make that available, but they don't do a great job of explaining the business process behind it. So I'm throwing all these things up against the wall to say another initiative I think that would be really interesting is sort of that I think might be a benefit to any utility is how do you do system mapping? So how do you look at what your whole technology ecosystem looks like? We've done some work on that as well. And then the other one is what does it take to get a report? and what other criteria? And maybe we develop some sort of template that people can use as a way to sort of, because I think what that speaks to is what you were saying. I'm sorry, Udom, is that correct? I want to make sure I'm saying that correct.
Yeah, that is right.
Okay, Udom. What that speaks to, at least in our circumstance, is it's requiring them to think through what they ask for before they ask for it, because then there's context around what type of resources we have at our disposal to deliver that to them, if that makes sense. And I think what people think anymore is just like, it's you go in the black room, you clap, and there's the report, and it just happens, right? And there's a whole infrastructure built up around that I don't think people understand so much. So again, it's all of a similar theme here, but I think those other elements would be good to look at as a organizational initiative, if you will.
For sure. Just to add to that, actually, what you've described there, for sure is applicable over here at Metro Vancouver. So we've typically had, what they call the best of breed model, where we have, like a PeopleSoft in place for HCM, and we'll have a Unit 4 in place for financials, and sort of all the large players that made sense at the time when those RFPs were done. And we had a whole issue with silo reporting, and we had experts in each area, but really we had all these different requests coming through for we need reporting, and ultimately the group that I'm a part of, we ended up bringing forward what we're calling a corporate reporting model, which is where we're trying to now implement Tableau, which is of course more of a BI based, sort of visualization based model, where we can ultimately put it in the hands of the end user, and we're creating what we're calling certified data sets. But the goal of all of that, and the goal of all of that is just to take the reporting needs out of each of these systems and have sort of more generic expertise that we can use across the board. And we're still working through that, but we're seeing already some great advantages of that approach.
Awesome. So I see some good comments in the chat too, and Steve, it sounds like there's a lot of interest in kind of pursuing what Ting has talked about. Steve had suggested that it maybe be like a separate conversation than the conversation about the assessment. And the assessment, I think, would.
Sorry, I was actually just saying because I have no clue what you all are talking about, right? Because I don't know all the background.
Okay.
And so I'm jumping in midstream. So that's what I was saying. Somebody can catch me up offline. I'm not saying that you should do the process offline. I just want to know where y'all are coming from. So
got it.
Sorry about that.
Okay. So I guess so I heard a couple of ideas, like, and there are a lot of interest in like kind of the project request intake, and a lot of utilities are finding different ways to address that, and that could be something that would be value from learning from one another on. Scott, you mentioned system mapping, and then also what does it take to get a report. I think that this assessment tool, once you work through it, helps to answer at least that last question, I think, and maybe some of the system mapping, maybe. So
I think that the mapping exercise is almost more important first before you can do the last one, right? You kind of do the first one before you can do the last one in some context. So maybe the BPMN models can help you sort of figure out how to do that as well. So,
cool. So I'm trying to think like how to go from here. Like, Ting, would it be helpful to like schedule a meeting like just on the topic that you shared, and that would be like a follow-up meeting while we or what would you suggest?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Yvonne. So maybe we get the folks interested in this topic and get a deeper dive into the areas and the interests, what we want to do from there.
Okay. Cool. I'm really curious to hear what other utilities are doing in that area. Scott. Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
A question for Ting would be, were you envisioning doing even a quick and dirty business process model that you could share with the team, and then they could kind of tweak it a little bit, and that was a step before we got into what the technology requirements are associated with it and so forth? Is that what you were thinking, or did you want to do it a business process model, interactively online with everybody, with Mike or Barnett or somebody, helping with that? Or what were you thinking?
That's a great question, Scott. I guess I'm open to everyone how we want to collaborate on that. But one thing I could, is just like you said, is a quick, dirty, what I have thought through, and this is where I see it going to be the process that's working, and then bring to the group, and then getting your feedback and things. I do want to, maybe we can use Miro or something so everyone can jump in and to kind of editing things as a working process.
That's a great idea. And Ting, it seems like what you have suggested received a lot of, it resonates with a lot of people. And what I can offer is the project team between myself and Mike Barnett. We can work with you between now and the next meeting.
Okay.
To help develop a business process model like some of the ones that I've shown.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can be the foundation for our discussion. Scott Parker mentioned also that he has some artifacts and some big, so we can look at that as well, and also include Yvonne and Scott or whoever in a sort of smaller core group between now and the next meeting in a couple of weeks, so that next time we can have that as a foundation. That's a foundational step in I think that would be really cool and would go just be very compatible with what the overall strategy is. Yvonne, would you agree?
I think that sounds great, and I see, but I see Jenny has her hand up, so let me let Jenny go.
Thanks. I like this idea and approach forward, and I just wanted to offer an observation of, I heard maybe a comment around we don't have a process around this, and I would offer that there always is a process, it's just not documented. And so every process has a start, a middle, and an end. And so I kind of, when we've done some process training at Tacoma Water, we've actually used the grilled cheese example. And, how do you make a grilled cheese? And you're going to get some smart Alex that say, well, first you have to grow the wheat, to then harvest the bread, to then go to the, so there's where you start your process mapping, I think is really important. And I think offers an answer to Steve's question of what are we even talking about? So if we have a clear, this is the process we're trying to map, what does it start and what is its end? And then you start to kind of wrestle with all the middle pieces, that will be helpful, because then I think that will identify what are the pain points then that people are throwing technologies at to solve. Where in this process are they trying to ameliorate something? And so I just wanted to offer that I think that'd be a helpful exercise of going through what is that current process and how other utilities are experiencing it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you, Jenny.
So if I'm hearing correctly, you're volunteering to help with this effort. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sure, Cello, sign me up.
I'm just making notes, that's all. I'm not telling
Oh, Scott.
Everybody raise their hands if they like peanut butter.
Yeah, so I think Jenny's point's a really good one. Scope, we call this, and at least in my training, is problem definition, right? What you will find, at least in my experience, very quickly as it gets to technology too, is it seeps over into very, very other business processes very, very, very quickly. So if this is about the acquisition of systems, right, or the prioritization of projects, like that needs to be fleshed out pretty well before we start doing any, I would call it modeling. Maybe seeing with yours, you could sort of define that for yourself and then say, okay, this is what I'm trying to do, right? And then maybe that would be the point of feedback for us. But I would agree. We've done quite a lot of process mapping as well on our technology. Well, actually, we've taken it from the opposite perspective, where we had a business process and then we tried to apply the technology to it. And very quickly it got muddled into, is this a technology process or a business process? It gets really tricky if you're not careful. So just think that that's a good point. And I think maybe that problem definition step is really, really necessary.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, I think we kind of frame the problems or challenges here and have some approach to do that. I would also suggest we really write it down. What's the outcome we are trying to achieve here, and have a clear goal with a small group that so we can make it clear what this process for. And it's going to be probably a process developing all this model or process or KPIs. That's another one, Scott, I heard from you. And we are in the process of developing the KPIs as well.
Sorry, go ahead, Yvonne. Go ahead,
Yvonne.
Oh,
I was going to say, would sort of these two things kind of dovetail then, like the development of a process, maybe your current, and then a to be for a defined scope somewhere around IT, technology acquisition, prioritization somewhere, something.
Yeah.
That then becomes kind of helpful to this group who has a lot of interest in this topic. And then that process then becomes what we use instead of peanut butter and jelly or instead of a CIP to work our way through this assessment tool. Or do you see this as something separate?
Personally, I think this is a CIP is very complex, very multifaceted, I mean, I was on the CIP prioritization group last year, led by Dan Ott. So this is different to me, and I work in both. So I think this one deserves its own sort of methodology approach, however you want to describe it, its own model, I guess is the way I would say. So I think this is beneficial, or, you know, it is a necessary element that all utilities are facing as well, right? Every utility is facing this in some context as it relates to how technology affects what decisions they make and do their work every day. So that's my 2 cents.
So Scott, if I understand correctly, you're also volunteering to help us out on this in the off week. Is that correct?
I'm sort of more of an ideas guy, Cello. I don't really.
I was going to ask you that, Scott.
No. In all seriousness, I'm very interested in this. This is something that I see as a real, at least for us, this is the 21st century version of a utility. We're becoming a data management organization that has engineering expertise. I say this a lot, right? So these tools are necessary for us to do what we do. And so, yeah, I'm very interested in it. And so, yes, Cello, I guess, as long as there's some sort of under the table payment, I'm in. So just letting you know right there, I have a fee.
I lost connection for a second, so I didn't get the whole thing that you were saying. But
the good news is
I'm writing notes.
It's being recorded, so you can go back and watch it. So.
Okay. So this, Yvonne, would be compatible with the plan that you laid out about having a smaller group meet in the off week to discuss this and to start hammering out something that we can tangible that we can start working with. And this would be really exactly along the lines the way all those 46,000 slides are explaining, you know. But this is where we start. So I got so far Jenny, Ting, Scott, and Yvonne to engage in the meeting next week. Anybody else volunteers to join us and be part of that call?
Mike Sweeney has his hand raised.
Yeah, I'll join it. I had to step away on a call, but I want to make sure I know what I'm joining. We're talking about technology, IT technology or technology prioritization process. Okay, great.
I'm sorry, Mike. I already wrote in ink here that you're volunteering, so I don't know if I can change that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
So yeah, I'm trying to figure out who to get roped into the meeting. So you're in. Any other ideas or suggestions or volunteers? Nobody's going to be talking anymore. No.
Well, I'll throw another one, but I think there's definitely something that for others to. Yeah. So Scott mentioned, and the other thing we're also looking to is the data management. I think the data itself is a new area. I heard a lot of utilities, you all have a data analytics or process groups that focusing on data analysis. But there are a lot of data issues and things. So I don't think utilities have a good data management model and a process to do that. So that might be another project in the future discussion too.
Yeah, I would agree. We have a data management plan, but it's very, very bare bones. But it's an artifact, again, we could use, I think, if you wanted to go to that. Another one, I'm sorry to throw one other one in there, but since we're spitballing, along those same lines is data governance plan. What is a true, that is our biggest issue, is the data. I mean, it's all of a piece, right? Governance of if you don't have good quality information, it's hard to get good quality information. So that's another one I think that's very relevant as well. And every organization, at least I know, is dealing with that in some context.
That's really excellent. And so the first step will be to identify the process and look at it. And then what's displayed is the things that we're going to look at. Are we in the analysis of as is? Are we collecting the information that look at that process that we need? How is data managed? Then analytics, and then decision support. And obviously, if we don't collect any data, all these other things are going to be very limited in use. So yes, what you're saying and what Sting is saying, what you guys are saying is exactly along the lines what we will be looking at next. Yeah.
And I'll admit that it's my first time really and thinking about things like data governance and data management by first looking at a process, which I'll admit it, that I think when Cello first told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, this seems like a little overwhelming, but it's the foundational thing that then tells you all of the pieces of information you need in order to get up to a data management framework or data governance framework. We'll be, I think, getting to those two things by way of the assessment, and by doing this process that really we all want to be better in our organizations as the process we use to go through this assessment together, I think will be incredibly valuable.
We call data the lifeblood of our asset management program, right? So it's, I mean, nothing is good, nothing has confidence, no business process is informed without really good information, and that comes from good data. Take it for what it's worth.
Scott, I'm writing down quotes from you. I like that other one too.
I'm from Arkansas, so we speak completely. We don't speak real English. We speak in sort of allegories and whatnot. So I got lots of them. I'm a Southerner by heart. That's what I do.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. Do we have any others that are interested in participating in a meeting probably the same time next week to delve into this IT technology needs / prioritization process? Udham, I was hoping you might raise your hand. I think you have some.
You know what I was thinking of? So the funny thing is, I was actually kind of, I wouldn't say voluntold to come to today's meeting, as my it was actually supposed to be my boss who was supposed to attend, who actually got pulled off in another direction. And I'm actually finding this very interesting. So I'm messaging him on the side here going, what was your expectation?
Yeah, right.
What was your expectation of our involvement here? Because I'm about to start volunteering for stuff.
Well, after you check in with him, let us know, either yourself or your boss or both participating. That would be awesome if possible.
Yeah. So, and I guess my question I've got is, as we, and excuse my naivety here, but with this group, I can appreciate that it's kind of a knowledge sharing kind of a hub, kind of a concept here. But is the thought that, the items that are brought forward then become topics for future discussions, and kind of is that the goal here, is just to kind of come up with topics that are relevant to the group and then work through them?
Well, today that's and anyone jump in, but I think our original task scope of this group was to leverage work that has been done recently by WRF, this technology and data assessment tool. And that's like the original scope. But what we've talked about today is like how to do things that augment this, that help us to utilize this assessment tool. So as well as I think we've also identified other topics that we would want to work on in the future, but haven't figured out when we would do those. So does that sort of answer your question? Sort of.
It does. And then I guess the follow-up would be, as these smaller, I guess I'll call them task forces, are created and offshoot groups, are the findings of those then brought back to this group? Is that the idea? Okay. And I'm assuming that gets communicated out to all the attendees. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. If you were involved, like some of us are involved in other ones. Like I was involved with the CIP one, like I mentioned last year, right? The idea is to build models that are useful kind of industry-wide as much as possible, right? And then case studies, right? So if somebody wants to tackle, and we're tackling these topics because they have some sort of universal, applicability to what utilities are facing. So Yeah, so
Fair enough.
it's a knowledge sharing that leads to some sort of outcome then that you can use if you choose to in your organization. And if you want any more insight on that, we've done some other stuff here that I'd be certainly willing to share. But the big thing that you get is you get the artifacts and you get the shared knowledge. The shared knowledge is amazing. You got some pretty smart people on the call that you can like call up and be like, hey, we're having this issue. How do you handle it? That's helpful as well.
Right, and then I guess then the follow up is, I mean, I guess is the theme of these typically related to like the utilities in regards to like the water systems and that kind of thing. With because I noticed we're touching on technology here, but the general sort of the group that's brought together here is looking at these things from the focus of utility kind of. Is that correct?
Yep. So
okay,
utilities helping utilities.
Gotcha.
And this particular team is technology and data, but there are a couple of other teams that are active on different topics. But all for the benefit of utilities, with the support of Cello and Scott and Mike.
Gotcha. Perfect. Fair enough. So all of that to say, sure, I'll sign up for the technology and data one, and I'd love to be a part of that. And I just wanted to make sure that if I am agreeing to this, that I understand it correctly. So
very good. Clarifying expectations. That's good.
Absolutely.
So, for example, you can see these are the different initiatives as part of this program, and you will see that 3 of them in this blue box are process related. That there's a team that works on CIP that's led by Dan Ott from Kansas City and folks from DC Water. There's a team on assets and asset risk, which includes somebody from your organization, Chris Wu, and Mert Muftagil from Portland Bureau of Environmental Services. And then Team Energy, we have the lead from Team Energy, Eric Griffin, on this call. So one of the reasons he's probably not volunteering anything yet is because he's his hands full on keeping that group of cats herded. And then we have this is the team today. It's called the Team Analytics. So all of that, and then we have a team that works on change management. So we have 6 ongoing initiatives. So some people will sometimes choose to be very active in one initiative, but maybe just kind of listen in on another one. That's why that's why we have smaller groups who focus mostly on that initiative as what we call like a core team,
So a question for, Scott, I see your hand up.
I was just going to say, I think this is very cool, and what you've identified as an area to start with kind of has a double meaning in a way. I mean, you could have picked any process and then say, how do we map it, and then how do we apply technology and the assessment to it. But what you've done is you picked a technology process. So it's a kind of a double technology thing, right? And you have a lot of technology people here too. So it's an interest, a couple different kinds of interests that you have. But so what you come up with as a team would be some common understandings about how a process would work. Let's just say, however Ting defines it here, but and the group, but for a review of technology and prioritization and all of that, and what kind of technology can apply to that process. But what you come up with is a methodology that can apply to any process implementing technology. But it's appropriate that you use technology because that's really cool, and you got some technology oriented people here. And so I just think it's a great move the way you've directed this for this meeting, Yvonne, because it's getting concrete, and then you can apply some concrete things to the discussion. So this is really fantastic, and looking forward to what the group comes up with in the short term.
Cool. Awesome.
That's great. As action items, I will send an invite to the people that I have down. And just so I'm not missing anybody, it's Jenny, Ting, Scott Parker, Yvonne, and Mike Sweeney. for a week from today at the same time. Udam, you will tell us who else we should include, you and your boss or whoever else. If you can just let us know, send us an email, we'll be more than glad to do that.
Yeah, let me, what I'll do, I'll touch base with them, and then I'll also kind of just clarify, as far as what his vision is, as far as our involvement at this group. We're definitely all about, sharing information and learning. But as far as, how next steps and how much we get involved and where we get involved, I just want to make sure that, again, back to the comment earlier about, I want to make sure the expectations are managing on both sides as well. So absolutely, send me an email, and then I'll respond to that as needed.
Okay.
It often helps if you're trying to justify it, if you can bring something back, say, hey, I'm going to get something that'll fix this process here, right? That's a useful selling point if you want to think about it and if you want to make a sale. So
yeah, fair enough.
Would it be helpful to, I know, Scott, you mentioned artifacts.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a site that you stood up already, Cello, that we could post anything?
That's correct. Yeah, there is a site. We have. Let me just find where the thing is. I'm sorry. We have. These are folders in our. Sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Initiatives. Where are initiatives? We have initiatives. Then there's technology and analytics. Come on. And so this is where we're going to have activities of the core team with it that we just identified. So we will be, there's a folder here called Utility Partner Shared Artifacts, and it currently has nothing in it. So you can either navigate here, or I can send you a link to this folder.
A link would be great. Yeah.
Give me just one moment, please.
Okay.
And I will put it in the chat line.
Perfect.
So this way, if you copy this link that's in the chat line, you can post artifacts that are related to what we're doing there. Perfect. And it may be useful, especially if more people are going to be posting, to have like KC up front, so we know where it comes from, or MV for Metro Vancouver, so that if somebody, if Tink sees something interesting that has KC up front, that she can call you, because we're very much encouraging peer-to-peer, communication and collaboration.
Hey, Cello, can I create a subfolder on that site?
I don't know yet, because this is done by Microsoft. This is OneDrive, so it's a tough question. You should be able to create a folder. If you're not, I can create a folder. Just let me know.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, if you could just go ahead and create something that just says KC Water, a folder. That would be that way. I don't have to. We don't have to coordinate through emails. It's up to you, though. If you want to email me and us to do that.
I just created a folder called KC Water. I'm going to create a folder called WSSC. I'm going to create a folder called Metro Vancouver. And
Clean Water Services.
And Clean Water. Is CWS okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And Great Lakes. Let me see quickly. Tacoma.
Metro Vancouver.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. This is a typo. Sorry. It's amazing how your typing skills change when people are watching you type.
I've never been to Matero, Vancouver before. It seems like an interesting place to go. So.
I know, Scott. I knew I was going to get it. And there's Charlotte as well. Is that correct?
Yes, Charlotte Water.
You have your hand up, Mike. Did you want to do the same?
Yeah, you can add Toho to that, but I wanted to not sound obtuse, but this process that we're thinking about could actually be used on ourselves in this project. If we accumulate a lot of artifacts that are worthy of a prioritization process, we would have it in hand or some variant of it. But that's also initiative of bringing more people into WISE where they can take on these artifacts and we don't have to worry about prioritization per se, if you catch what I'm saying.
Okay.
Apply it to WISE projects.
Correct.
Got it. Yeah.
It's just an observation.
Yeah. So if I missed somebody, I'm going quickly through the list. Please. Oh, Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yeah. Sorry, Pat. So now when you go to that link that I sent you, you will have these folders there and you can just, post the stuff to these folders.
Awesome.
We've done this in the past. On UAIM, we generated more than 5,000 files. So,
That's an impressive performance metric.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cool. Well, I feel like we have a plan. This is exciting.
Yvonne, this would not have happened without you, Yvonne. So very much appreciated. Wonderful job. I will be sending out invites immediately as we conclude this call, and I'm going to stop the recording because